Thank you.
Could I please ask representatives from the Cancer Drugs Alliance, Melanoma Patients Australia, Advanced Prostate Cancer Support Group, Australian Melanoma Consumer Alliance and the Breast Cancer Network Australia to please come up? Now, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll have enough room.
Yeah, I did a count before after the first little one.
Yeah.
So now I know.
I'll show you. I just don't want to go. I can go. Yeah,
Going to start the official bit. I understand information on parliamentary privilege and the protection of witnesses and evidence has been provided to everybody. That's good. Welcome, everybody. Could I please ask all of you to give us your full names and the capacity in which you appear? Ms. Cowley?
My name's Karen Cowley. I am a 8-year survivor of cancer.
Welcome.
My full name's Catherine Wells. I'm from Breast Cancer Network Australia. I'm the Head of Policy, Research and Advocacy. And Karen's here with me as BCNA.
I was gathering that, yeah.
My full name is Louise Marshall. I'm a founding member of the Australian Melanoma Consumer Alliance and a melanoma survivor.
I'm James Edward Marshall, Jim Marshall. I lead the Advanced Prostate Cancer Support Groups.
And I'm Hayley Anderson. I'm the CEO of MPA, Melanoma Patients Australia.
Welcome.
My name is John Salzberg. I'm a medical oncologist and I'm head of the Cancer Research Program at Monash University. I'm here today as chair of the Cancer Drugs Alliance. Sorry, co-chair of the Cancer Drugs Alliance.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to invite whoever wants to make an opening statement to make an opening statement. I know a number of you have been here listening for a considerable period of time, so you probably know the ropes. Ms. Cowley, did you want to start? Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
Thank you, Senators, for the opportunity to address you. As the chairs pointed out, there have been many learned people here today who've spoken to many issues, so I'd like to make it easier for you by suggesting 4 issues that you might like to ask me questions about on behalf of my members of the Advanced Prostate Cancer Support Groups. Firstly, I guess the paradigm for holding up a drug is the drug abiraterone. I note the PBAC in its submission has pointed out that it took a long time to come, and part of that, they say, was not our fault, but there was 18 months afterwards before we could come to terms with the committee. So first thing I'd like you to ask me is for a couple of suggestions to questions you might ask them in the next session as to how that 18 months can be improved. Secondly, on the same drug, abiraterone, it's been approved in the US for use before chemotherapy. The earlier decision was for use after chemotherapy. And it's been turned down by the PBAC in July 2014. Now, it's a complex decision, but I'm worried about the role that QALYs, Q-U-A-L-Y-S, quality adjusted years of life, may have played in that decision, because it's very well known that QALYs do discriminate against people who are older, and many of my members are. The onset of this this disease happens later in life, and we have the greatest incidence of prostate cancer diagnosis in the world, partly because, despite some papers you read from the United States, it's not because they have better ways of looking after it. Our health system keeps men alive much longer. On average, WHO figures suggest we live 3.3 years longer than US citizens, US males that is, and 1.8 years longer than UK males. And that brings more people into these older cancers and into progression of the cancer as well. So I'd like to be asked about that as well. My members very much would like to point out that many of them are costing you a lot of money because they weren't diagnosed early enough, and finding their cancers to treat them is a problem, and that they'll be wanting you to think about the costs of MRIs and things like that, which can now precisely target cancers for better treatment. And finally, I'd like you to ask me about the PBAC recommendations, four of which are quite good, and a fifth we have concerns with. Thank you, Senators.
Thank you.
We've also heard a number of times today and in a number of submissions about the fact that a drug may well be approved for one specific issue, but
Correct.
to be used for another issue, another disease, it needs to go back.
Correct.
I'm wondering what your views are in regard to that. In fact, anyone across the table.
I have views, but I might just wait and let others comment. So.
Especially for older drugs, I've mentioned abiraterone, but it was based on an earlier drug that was for treating fungal infections. And if you wanted to use that drug for cancer, you had to pay the full amount. And because there was no incentive for it was near the end of its patent or at the end of its patent, there was no incentive for the manufacturer to provide it. It was basically not available. It is called ketoconazole, and abiraterone was actually modelled on that drug. It is quite effective.
Yeah.
So
Could I just add to the general discussion?
Please.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I was trying to remember the name of the drug, but I think I'll be dreaming alphabets tonight. But that specific drug you mentioned, Mr. Marshall, in its previous life, if you wanted to use it for something other than a fungal issue, say for cancer,
it was on the PBS.
How much?
PBS.
Are you able to give me a ballpark figure as to how much that might have cost people?
No, I'm afraid
Right,
not.
okay.
I'm sorry.
If I may, QALYs depend on the patient group that's being considered. With the group that I represent, although I've met men with prostate cancer aged 30, and about 5% of our members were diagnosed in the late 40s or early 50s, the average age of diagnosis for prostate cancer is 69. By the time they become advanced and need these drugs we're talking about, it's a little later. They suffer as I do, some of the measures that are used on the QALY. For instance, it asks about mobility. And as you can see, as I came in here, I'm less mobile. I get fewer points. About half of us at this age group have pains and aches and rheumatoid arthritis and lumbago and all sorts of things. That again takes you out of the top category and puts you in the middle one. So that means that QALYs for older folk tend to give a lower value to an extra year of our life. So if you're talking about someone who's 40 years old and you're going to give them an extra year of life at the end of their life, and you're talking about my members and you're going to give them an extra year of their life at the end of our life, on the QALY scheme, if it's not compensated for age, my members lose out. So I think, there's a lot of work on QALYs, and there's a lot of people tried to address some of these iniquities, and I'm not learned in this area, but I think that's one of the things worth asking the PABC if they have explored not discriminating against people of age, especially on the older onset cancers like prostate cancer. If I could follow on from Professor Zaltberg's point about delay, I think my members have, the paradigm case, abiraterone after chemotherapy approved by the PBAC. It's worthwhile government funds being spent on this drug. 18 months later, you could actually get it. Now,
was that because the minister sat on it?
Say again?
Was that because the minister effectively didn't approve it?
No. From the PBAC's account, the company didn't like the wording of the approval. The grounds for approval were against a certain drug or drugs, and they were keen to get a different approval. And I'd be keen for this committee to ask the PBAC why did that company negotiate for 18 months and finally accept what was offered in the first place? What were they hoping for? What were they hoping for in a different case for the drugs? And is there any way that could be given to men if that situation happens again? In the interim, I mean, the PBAC said that we should pay for it. Would it not make sense that men can start using it? And the PBAC says, without prejudice to the company's case to change the wording of the approval.
I think we'll make sure we either do it now or put it on notice. Follow that issue up.
I think that Mr. Marshall, you asked a series of rhetorical questions, saying you should ask me this, and this. I'm just worried about time constraints. I'm inviting you if you could. If you could put those on notice, the things that you wanted to say, but not now. In other words, can you put that in writing to the committee, please?
We got PBAC next, and some of them are in Geneva, and it's a bit of a complicated process to actually get them online. So unless anyone's got any more burning questions, I'm going to wind us up a couple of minutes early so that we can get them on the line because they're in a very tight timeline. So, Mr. Marshall, I'm sorry, I apologise to cut you off, but anything extra on those questions that we didn't ask you,
yes,
we would gladly accept any further feedback.
Thank you very much.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your evidence today. It's very much appreciated. Did anybody else take any homework? We've got a little bit. We'll get back to whoever was rash enough to promise to send us more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to suspend.
Are they in Geneva? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, hang on, I've got to do this bit. We're going to suspend for between 2 minutes to get them on the line.